Pakistan has seen 10 general elections till date. Corruption has been a major issue in each one of them. Many leaders have lost positions of power due to corruption-related issues. A recent example is that of former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. The former PML-N chief had to step down as Prime Minister after his name surfaced in the Panama Papers scandal. His family members were also named in the scam. Pakistan Tahree-ke-insaf party chief Imran Khan also made this a big issue when he led a nationwide campaign against Nawaz Sharif. After months of investigation, the country's Supreme Court disqualified Sharif on the 28th of July 2017. Following his disqualification, Sharif was forced to resign as Prime Minister. In addition, the Supreme Court also banned Sharif from contesting elections for life. He also lost command of his party. Just 20 days ahead of the elections this year, Sharif and his party suffered another setback. A Pakistan court sentenced him to 10 years in jail in a corruption case. His daughter Maryam was also sentenced to 7 years imprisonment. For nearly 3 decades, Nawaz Sharif was the most prominent face in Pakistan politics. He was the only leader to have become Prime Minister for a record 3 times. Sharif was first sworn in as Pakistan's Prime Minister in 1990. But in 1993, he had to resign under pressure from the army. During that period, at least 13 cases of corruption and money laundering were registered against him. Sharif assumed power for the second time in February 1997 and occupied the Prime Minister's chair till the coup in 1999. He became the Prime Minister for a third time after winning the 2013 general elections. The clampdown on Nawaz Sharif and his party just ahead of the general elections this year has left his party in shock. Political analysts predict that Sharif's party may have to face heavy losses in the upcoming elections. At the same time, Imran Khan, who is campaigning against Sharif and his party, has a good chance.
What has happened to the mainstream political parties, especially to PML-N, and how they have to restore their credibility in the eyes of the electorate, because they are now fighting with their backs to the wall. And I think the biggest conversation seems to be between the political parties and the military, because the military is trying to govern this electoral process, which is quite extraordinary given given the past of the military's involvement. And I think that is the biggest issue that faces the 2 mainstream political parties in Pakistan.
Following Nawaz Sharif's conviction, the debate over politics and corruption has reignited in Pakistan. But even before him, in 2013, the Supreme Court ordered the arrest of Pakistan People's Party leader and then Prime Minister Raza Parvez Ashraf in a corruption case. He was accused of embezzling funds during his tenure as the Water and Power Minister in 2010. Earlier in April 2012, the Supreme Court removed Pakistan People's Party leader and then Prime Minister Yusuf Raza Gilani for contempt of court. Gilani was accused of not following the court's order to communicate with Swiss authorities, asking them to reopen the corruption case against then-President Asif Ali Zardari. Former Prime Minister late Benazir Bhutto also faced corruption charges. In 1990, she was dismissed over allegations of corruption and incompetence, and Nawaz Sharif was made the Prime Minister. Later in 1993, Benazir became Prime Minister once again. But in 1996, she was once again dismissed by President Farooq Legari. In 1999, Benazir Bhutto and her husband Asif Ali Zardari were sentenced to jail. Experts say politics marred by corruption in Pakistan is linked to the Pakistani army that has time and again been accused of interfering in elections in the country. Similar questions are being raised this time too. The country's judiciary has also been often accused of giving decisions favoring the army or under their pressure. The Pakistani army plays a significant role in the country's politics. It is believed that the army and ISI take all major decisions of the Pakistan government. The country's history cites several such instances where the army has emerged as the most powerful decision-making body. General Ayub Khan, Yahya Khan, Zia-ul-Haq and Parvez Musharraf have all ruled the country directly as presidents as well as the chief martial law administrator for years. Whenever the elected government tried to bring about a policy change in Pakistan's foreign affairs and security matters, the army hindered the situation. The Pakistani constitution states that the army will work under a democratically elected government, but elected governments have been overthrown by the military several times.
तो बेहतर होगा कि ये जो है DGISPR वाली बातों पे अमल ना किया जाए। बेहतर यही होगा कि इलेक्शन कमीशन अपने इंतजामात को खुद अपने हाथ में ले बेहतर होगा कि इलेक्शन कमीशन ये सारे फैसले भी करें, उनको अमली जामा भी पहनाए, और हम नहीं किसी और इदारे की मुदाखलत को किसी सूरत भी तस्लीम नहीं करेंगे कि जो इलेक्शन कमीशन के अलावा हो.
And I think his anti-corruption image has been one of his strong points. And I think what has happened in the last few years is that anti-corruption image has taken a beating because of how what has happened. You know, the corruption charges against him, his jail term now, and the way military has used these charges to sort of discredit him. Because otherwise he would have been very difficult to control given the sort of authority he was wielding. Whoever wins the elections will eventually will have to seek the blessings of the army, because it doesn't, as of now, it doesn't look like that any of the mainstream political parties may be able to get a majority on their own.
Pakistan's intelligence agency ISI helps terrorist organizations like Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed to wage war against India. They also work in Afghanistan to promote factions of the Taliban and the Haqqani network. In Pakistan, the army has always weakened democratically elected governments. Pakistan's nuclear weapons program is also under the army's control. Intelligence agency ISI is also not controlled by the government but by the army. It is the army that decides the country's defense budget. Even in appointments on government and senior administrative posts, the decision of the army is binding. The army does not want Pakistan to become a strong, efficient democracy. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.